All right, let's do it live on a Victory Monday edition of the program. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. 3-1. But we have to be because the AFC North, everybody other than Pittsburgh's winning.
3-1.
Everybody's 3-1. Yeah. Well, that has its own glory in that. This was a reminder for me, at least, of the amount of ways that this team is capable of winning. Because Minnesota goes right down the field, and you go, okay, was what we saw last week against Chicago a product of an inept head coach, a rookie quarterback, an offensive line that couldn't block it? We knew how good Minnesota was offensively coming into the game. But Joe Woods' defense adjusted. And all of the things that we talked about last week and we saw last week in the game against the Bears all came home to roost again against Minnesota. We can get pressure with 4 whenever we want. Grant Delpit and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah are missiles. They are heat-seeking missiles, and they are weapons. And we haven't had guys like that. There aren't many teams in the league that have guys like that. Their ability to knife through, there's a play going around the internet of Grant Delpit taking on a fullback, which allows for one of our other linebackers to swallow up a run play. The play of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah flying, I mean, it's almost like he runs underneath blocks and shoestrings.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook. Those type they are such weapons for what Joe Woods wants to do. So we won a game where we struggled to throw the football, but we have 2 of the 5 best backs in the league. We have a really good offensive line, perhaps the best in the league. When Jedrick Wills is healthy, I think the best in the league. And so you can win it when you're not at your best throwing the ball. And that's what happened. And that should be a warm blanket for you, Browns fans, because you can win when you're not at your best on the road at a quality opponent. And defensively, when is the last time you could lean on the defense like this?
Never. Not in my time.
It's incredible.
Here. It is incredible, and this was a monster win for the Cleveland Browns. And you're right, you were not at your best. And what did you do? You said, you know what? We can win by running the ball down your throat. 38 carries, 184 yards, 4.8 a pop. By the way, that was one of the keys to victory. Control them on the ground. The Browns did that. And then defensively, you were elite. You got a couple of sacks against a team that allowed 5 in 3 games. You had pressure after pressure after pressure. Kirk Cousins under duress. It felt like on every single drop back. And after that first drive, they went 75 yards. Yeah. And it looked easy.
Really easy.
They scored twice.
Yeah,
they had one get called back. It looked easy. And then to turn the clamps on, this is what I love. I always love going through here, and you look at the ball possession and drive chart. Here's the Minnesota Vikings possessions. Can I interest you in this?
Oh, I would. Yes, you can.
14 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. 3 plays, 1 yard, punt. 7 plays, 34 yards, lose it on downs. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. That was at the end of the first half that set up our field goal to get us to 11.
Yep.
End of half. Third quarter, 3 plays, negative 2 yards, punt. Third quarter again, 3 plays, no yards, punt. Fourth quarter, 8 plays, 51 yards, punt. 3 plays, 4 yards, punt. 1 play, interception. 8 plays, 55 yards, downs. 9 plays, 28 yards, end of game. End of game. The farthest that they got after that initial drive, we stopped them on a 4th down at our 36. They made it to the 50 once in the fourth quarter, 33 on downs at the end of the game, 26 at the end of the game. That was it. Those were their only forays into our territory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drives that were either 3 and out or ended in a turnover.
It was dominant.
Dominant.
It was absolutely dominant against a – folks, do not for a second underestimate how good Minnesota is offensively with Dalvin Cook. You saw firsthand those 2 receivers. Justin Jefferson is a dude, very clearly. Kirk Cousins is an accurate quarterback who stands in there and puts it on the money most of the times. He was under constant duress, the amount of pressure that you had on him. It's one of those things where I'm glad that there are sites like PFF that have pressure rate and those type of things, and even those maybe don't give the total picture. But Kirk Cousins was looking over his shoulder left and right. What do we have, 3 sacks in the game or just 2?
The 2 sacks.
Just 2 sacks.
We had 2 sacks, but here's the difference.
You hit him.
He was under pressure on 54% of his dropbacks.
There you go.
54%. Yes, that was the top mark in the league. Here's the difference. Here's why Kirk Cousins is so good when he's not. Kept clean, 14 and 19, 74% completions, 157 yards, a touchdown. He did throw the pick on the bomb, which is a great play by Greedy. Quarterback rating of 93. Under pressure, 6 of 19 for 46 yards, 2.4 per attempt. Plus we had a batted ball. Plus we had a sack. Quarterback rating of 40. That's the difference. We affected this game up front, and you go and you look at our guys on defense, and this is what I love. Myles Garrett, 9 pressures. Clowney, 7. Malik Jackson, 5. Tack McKinley, 3. Malik McDowell, 4. And you had a sack from Garrett. You had a sack from McKinley as well. Garrett split his with Denzel Ward. But I had, after the game, I was waiting as the guys were coming out of the locker room. One of the guys I talked to, Malik Jackson. I hope we get a chance to talk to him this week in more in depth.
Sure.
Malik Jackson was saying, the other day I had to go home and I had to get my mind right. That's what he said to me coming out. He said, I was getting frustrated. I was getting close, but I wasn't getting sacks. I was getting frustrated. I was getting close. I was getting sacks. And then I realized all I've got to do, me and Malik, all we have to do is push the pocket. And if we push the pocket, you can't stop our guys on the edge.
Nope.
If we don't let you step up or escape because we get out of our lanes, there's nowhere to go. And guess what? Sometimes guys are just going to naturally glide up right into me and I'm going to get my sacks. But if I just do my job up front and stop thinking about worrying about sacks and just push the pocket, we are going to be wreckers. And guess what? He had that thought a couple weeks ago, last 2 games. That's what he and Malik McDowell have done. 9 pressures from the interior, just pushing the pocket. They weren't even trying to do anything fancy. He should have had a sack. Come on, NFL. Cousins is on his back. Let's call that one. Just for our guy Malik because he's a good guy. But that's the difference. When you've got that, you had 9 pressures and 3 quarterback hits from the interior of your pass rush with Myles and Clowney coming around the edge and Tack, he pursues each pass rush. It doesn't always go perfectly.
Yeah.
But he pursues each one like Kareem pursues each carry.
Right.
I mean, they are just hair on fire.
Yep. Good way to put it. And speaking of Kareem, so it's 3rd and 20 on your own 26 at the end of the first half in a tight game. You run a simple draw play. He picks up 33 yards. You go from maybe we got a punt, who knows what's going to happen, they're going to have some field position, to, hey, let's go see if we can score.
Yeah, that changed the game. Those
it's
3
a
points.
game-changing play, and he's doing that every week. Every week he's doing that. There's not a better – Derrick Henry gets it 35 times and runs for 153 yards. You can't compare him because he's all by himself. But in terms of the impact made week in and week out, and I acknowledge we have Nick Chubb, who I think is the best overall running back in the league, and they work together in unison. This is how good Kareem Hunt is playing right now. He is such a game wrecker. The way that he started this season, that's an unbelievable play. You're giving up on it. You're saying, hey, we got a punt. Bad penalty, so we're in 3rd and 20. All right, let's punt. Let's no harm. Guy picks up 33 yards, and you go get it. By the way, we got a kicker.
We do have a kicker. We'll talk about that in a second. But back to your thing, but Nick Chubb, couldn't believe he had 100 yards. It was the quietest 100. It was just every time 4, 5, 7, 9. Long run of the day, 13. But back to that Kareem run, you call that draw. J.C. Treader does a great job. He gets out, makes the first initial block, and then the reason it ends up being 33 and not 24-20, which would have been the first down, Odell Beckham clears out Harrison Smith, blocking all the way down the field. And those are the little things. I guarantee when they watch that Chad O'Shea's room, when they're watching that, they are going to be very pleased with what they saw from Odell on a day when he had an opportunity to come out of this game with 180 and 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
Not even exaggerating or trying to put a lot of flavor on it. I mean, the opportunities were there, and yet he still stayed with it enough to be involved, blocking down the field and all of those things. So I thought that was a very, very positive development. You were not your best, and you won anyway. And you mentioned we had a kicker. Yeah, you're darn right we've got a kicker.
It's unreal.
And his name is Chase McLaughlin. He is now on the season 9 for 9, right? 9 for 9 on his field, or 7 for 7 on field goals, 9 for 9 on extra points, long of 57. And here's the thing. You go back to last year. Do you know the longest field goal we made last year? 46 yards. And he's already done 57, and yesterday alone, 53 and 48.
Well, I don't think it's probably since Phil Dawson that you've had consistent kicking at this level and this good, where you felt good that he would make it from distance. I mean, he's just true. He's feeling it right now. It's an incredible advantage that you have, and all of those things allow for you to win despite a passing game that didn't click, and that's just part of this. It's great to learn these lessons in a win. And it's
to
great
be 3-1.
3-1, to go beat a good team at their place while not at your best and lean on the other parts of your team to get there. You are one of the 6 to 8 teams, and this is the thing with our team that I think is the real key point. You are one of the teams who can win the Super Bowl. This defense is proving that right now. This run game proves that right now.
Yes.
We have got to get the pass game clicking the way that it was to start the Kansas City game. That's the reality. And that's the standard we're judging this team on this year too, folks, and that's what's different. That's what's different. A couple of years ago, we go to Minnesota, win 14-7. You and I are dancing on the desk. Different. It's different
world
now.
But
different
it's
world
the
now.
best thing to be able to say there is room for improvement coming out of a win. Hey, Gibbe, are you listening? Can I throw a guess the stats at you real quick?
Let's go.
Who's the Browns?
Today?
Who's the Browns' leading receiver on the season?
Kareem Hunt.
That's what I would say. Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt, 12 catches, 121 yards.
That's right.
He is first. Second, Hollywood Higgins, 8 for 114.
Come in
Third,
and take a victory
the
lap
Chief,
all over you.
7 for 111. Fourth, Beckham, 7-104. Our wide receivers have caught 0 touchdowns this season. Zero.
That's not going to do it. Not if you're trying to win the Super Bowl. It's not, which is what we're trying to do. So that's got to come. All right? But it's easier to learn that and work on that amidst winning.
Of course.
There is going to come a time, and it could come this week. We're at the Chargers. They play tonight, but they can score. There's going to come a time where we're going to have to go against script and chase a game. And when that happens, the pass game is going to have to be able to get points. If you're a great team, that's what you can do. Yep. And that's something we're going to have to prove that we can do. There's a lot of factors that could lead into it, and we'll ask the Hoff about all of this stuff coming up in the 2 o'clock hour of the program. Victory Monday, of course, is brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Some injury updates for you. Jedrick Wills getting an MRI on the ankle. Honestly, like I root for him, like you do everybody, it might just be best if he just sits it down for a little bit and gets right. It does feel like that we're getting there, and hopefully Hub can come back relatively soon.
I think that's important. Yeah, James Hudson had some good moments in the run game, some struggles in the pass game, but yeah, you just want Jed to get right so that he can play out there. Now, I don't, I'm used to seeing guys all taped up if they got an ankle, a huge thing, and what stood out to me about yesterday's game is Jed had nothing. He was just looked normal. Maybe under his shoe he was taped up, but you're used to linemen with that giant stuff out there on everything. And then for Dalvin Cook just had his normal little low-top shoes on. Yeah. Coming off of his ankle. And that was weird how they didn't use him, and then they bring him back, and you could tell he was fine. But just a great game in the sense that, I think a lot of people thought, and I even talked about this pregame, this is going to be like Dallas last year. Good offense, not a great defense. Let's go get into a shootout with them, see what we can do. And it ends up being this slugfest. But it just shows you that our defense, number one, is capable of stopping anybody. And two, I made that joke in the over-unders. I did take the over on the total, but I said, the average points of these teams are 58. Right. And the total's 52. Who isn't taking that over? So it's probably going to be way under, which it was. But I don't think that we took into account just how much familiarity with the offensive schemes there was in this game, and how I think that led to, even JOK, who's a rookie, told me after the game, he goes, from stuff knew from our training camp going against our offense, we knew some of the plays that were happening before they happened. Yeah, Kyle Kubiak, the offensive coordinator there, Gary's son, and so that's all from that same tree. A couple other injury updates here quickly. Ronnie Harrison in concussion protocol, but found out this morning he does not have a concussion. So that is very, very good news on that front. Both Greg Newsome and Chris Hubbard are progressing. As I mentioned, Joe Thomas will join the program today from 2 to 3. It is the Joe Thomas hour of the program, so tweet your questions to the Hoff at Browns_daily. We will get to some of those at 2:15 in our Hey Joe segment. Those were your OBM hot topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider, your Cleveland Browns. For all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. And with yesterday's win, Tito's Handmade Vodka is proud to support the Cleveland Browns through the Tito's Victory Vodka program. $1,000 donation at Wags for Warriors, helping provide service dogs for veterans at no cost to the veteran. Thank you, Tito's. Remember to please enjoy Tito's Handmade Vodka responsibly. Please do so. So good job on that. Luminaries up next. The great Miz will join us with
with his thoughts. I mean, he's got to be practicing, right? He's got the stars. He's
Tonight,
got going on tonight.
yeah,
He's got that.
First eliminations happened. He has survived and
survived
advanced, and he's ready to go. It's Britney Spears night on Dancing with the Stars.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. You'll hear from Coach at the bottom of the hour as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
To the game to play, there's a price to pay. Time for you to get down on your knees.
Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You guys ready?
Oh, sure.
You are up. Mrs. on hold.
Well, that music can mean only one thing, and we'll get to the one thing in just a second. But first, we need to tell you that I'm here for Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's presents you the rules of football. Rule 1, serving cooked-to-order chicken finger meals always earns you extra points. At Rule 2, there's no penalty for excessive cane sauce dipping. Raising Cane's is ready to tackle all your chicken finger game day needs. When it comes time to winning on game day, Cane's rules, one love, and a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks. Of course, that music for one man, media mogul, WWE superstar, Dancing with the Stars contender, the Prince of Parma. He is the Miz. He is joining us now. That had to be sweet for you beating Minnesota. 2 wrestling hotbeds, Cleveland and Minneapolis.
I mean, that was an amazing intro, by the way. I was loving the Prince of Parma. I've never heard that one, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, that game last night or yesterday was absolutely fantastic. The reason being is I didn't even think the offense played that well. I thought the defense really stood up and showcased what they can do. That just goes to show, like, what kind of team this is. It's the winning mentality. 2 years ago, we would have lost that game 100% from some sort of fumble, interception, some sort of stupid, idiotic play. But this is a new team. This is a new kind of mindset that Stefanski has implemented. It's a winning mentality. And if one part of the team isn't doing, isn't playing up to par, the other team picks up its slack and says, yo, I got your back. And that's what I love about this team. It's an actual team that has each other's back. It's fun to watch.
You're right about that. And the defense with a dominant performance against a team that had scored 63 points the prior two games. Should have been 66. They missed a short field goal, and they were completely shut down. One guy who used to have your back, Curtis Axel, son of Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Joe Hennig, a Minnesota native. Was there any banter between you and your former stablemate?
No, there's no banter. Honestly, I'm having a hard time, keeping up with football right now because Dancing with the Stars has me
so dancing.
nonstop all day, every day rehearsing. And it's not like I don't have to rehearse, but I want to and need to because I look at the competition.
It's pretty good.
And I'm like, I've never done this before, and I'm going up against professional dancers. So I need all the practice I can get. So whenever we take a water break, I'm always looking at the score, trying to figure out what's going on. And then I always watch after the game's already over, I'll watch the game and whenever I have free time, just to see what they're up to and what they're doing. And so, no, I had no banter with anybody. The only one that texts me is you because of fantasy football. And I'm not even playing you this week. That's how obsessed you are with me.
Well, I just wanted, to check in with somebody who last time, you remember, Beau, he was on the show 2 weeks ago. His fantasy team was 2-0. I believe he made declarations like, I'm never going to lose again. This is my year. I'm so much better than your team.
I have 3 injuries.
What's your record now?
3 guys.
What's your record?
Players uninjured.
What's your record?
I'm 2-2. I'm
2-2.
2-2.
So you never lose again to lose every week. Yeah.
You're the worst person to play fantasy football with.
I'm 3-1, no big deal. I have injuries. Didn't have Dalvin Cook last week, no big deal. Had half of them this week, no problem.
I can't wait to the middle of the season when we all know what happens to Dalvin Cook. We all know. Do I want it to happen? Absolutely not. But you just know he's going to get injured. It just happens.
It's already happened
each and every.
And I'm 3-1, just like the Browns.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
You know what? My team is complementary. Other people step up, just like the real Browns. It's like the real Browns. And on your team, you got a lot of front runners who are like, times are tough. We're out. We're dancing. We've got 2 kids. People wouldn't understand the time commitments. But the good news is,
you're acting like I'm getting dominated in this league. It's not like I'm losing by a ton of points. Yesterday, I was in it until the end. So. It just so happened that
you're the moral
Antonio
victory
Brown
team of our league. He's looking at moral victories in fantasy football right now. Beau's shaking his head. He can't believe this.
The worst.
Miz, what's tonight? What's on the slate tonight? What are you dancing to?
Ooh.
Tonight's Britney night.
It's a big one.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's dancing to a Britney song. Yeah, everyone's dancing to a Britney song. I have Oops, I Did It Again, and I'm doing the salsa. I actually have, Nathan might actually like this, I have wrestling-like moves in my dance tonight.
Oh, boy. A treat. Yep. Some Easter eggs. Are there lifts allowed in the salsa or no?
Lifts are allowed in the salsa.
Oh,
and
boy.
Let me tell you something. We have lifts that have never been seen before tonight.
Oh, my gosh. Very exciting.
It is exciting.
I like it.
We had dress rehearsal last night, and we have people that are doing the cameras and everything. And after we were done, we had a standing ovation.
So listen,
I'm
bring it. Do it.
I do. I'm gonna bring it. I'm a guy that when the red light goes on, I go off.
Ooh. Oh, I like that.
I like that. How do people vote for you again?
You can text Ms. M-I-Z to 21523. So 21523. Text Ms. You can vote 10 times.
10 times.
And you have to vote during the show.
All right.
So if you're 8 o'clock Eastern to 10 o'clock Eastern, you can vote.
And just write Ms., copy it, and then just paste.
Over,
And then they'll tell you, they'll let you know when you get to 11. They'll say, I'm sorry, you've exceeded the maximum.
Too much. Yeah.
Too much. But no, it's never enough for the Ms. You're doing great, brother. I am very proud of you, what you're doing on there.
I feel like your kids are making you vote for somebody else, though. I
No.
feel like you're not giving me 10 of your votes.
You get 40 a night from the ZWO.
They're
every
taking
Monday.
care of it,
You
yeah.
get 40.
That's what I'm talking
And
Gotcha.
even Nana,
That's
the
why-
official Nana of CBD, is not afraid to cast a vote for the Miz.
Miz, we put Peyton Hillis
Oh, I love
on
it.
on
Yeah,
Madden.
I need all the votes I can get, my friend.
Yeah,
Bo, are you voting?
Of course, buddy. We put Peyton Hillis on Madden. We can put you on we can win Dancing with the Stars.
Let's go. And
I mean,
he's
we
going
can
to
do
earn
that.
it.
Right.
You watch him dance. He's earning
I
it.
mean, he's got the natural charisma.
He does.
Hey, Miz, were you a Seinfeld kid growing up? Did you watch Seinfeld growing up?
Oh, my God. Dude, I just did Celebrity Wheel
Well,
of
that's
Fortune
what-
with Jason Alexander.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because that was the formidable show of my youth that I watched I couldn't wait to. So when you're on, and you've gotten to do all these cool things, but was that surreal to be next to George from Seinfeld, for crying out loud?
And the amazing part is he's such a great actor that he's nothing like George. I mean, I don't think many people could be like George, but,
Larry.
he was just he's like a genius, honestly.
Smart
He's
guy.
the greatest Wheel of Fortune player I've ever seen, because I was going up against him, and every time, there was one letter on the board, one letter, and he'd be like, "Hey, Pat, I'd like to solve the puzzle." I'm like, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Give us a
But I
chance.
got to raise over $50,000 for Connor's Cure and the V Foundation for pediatric cancer, and so that really, really, warms my heart whenever we can do something like that.
Awesome.
Mike, I want to get you out of here on this one. Jarvis, we know how much you love Jarvis. We can't wait for him to be back. One more game he should miss, and then he's eligible to come off of IR and rejoin the Browns. But you were talking about this defense. I don't, certainly in my time here, the best defense that I've seen. Who on the defense are you loving right now? Whose jersey? Like when you were offered and you said, I need that 80, I need a Jarvis on the D, what would be the first jersey you'd want to put on?
It's Myles Garrett, and the reason Myles Garrett's able to play like he's playing is because Tre'Davious Clowney is on the other side, and they can't double-team Myles Garrett anymore. And honestly, Clowney's been looking like a stud.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but he has come to Cleveland, and he has come to represent exactly who he is and who he was supposed to be for the Houston Texans and even the Seattle Seahawks. But, man, he is coming out, and he's showing up.
Mike, I can also tell you, I just got a text from Bernie Kosar. You have 10 votes from him every night, too. So Bernie's got your back.
Yes.
Understand that I used to sing when I was in elementary school in 5th grade. I'll never forget, we were on our school bus singing, Bernie, Bernie.
Yes.
Oh, baby. Super Bowl. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, man.
Well, he's
All the
got your
kids were
back.
doing it.
He's got your back, man.
That's something right there. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember those action figures that the
Starting
football
lineups?
players kind of had.
Starting lineup.
Yeah, we're aware.
Of course.
Had the
We might even have
Star
some in the
one
studio somewhere.
In the white.
Mini Bernie's in there. He's
Yep.
right in there. Get back.
We've got some
Get
stuff.
Bernie,
Don't we
get-
have who we have in there? Do we
We got
got
Minifield, Mini Bernie, and
Probably have Eric Metcalf, right?
I would like it.
Bernie,
See.
Metcalf, Kevin Mack,
Mack.
maybe.
A Mack, a
we
Minifield,
don't
and a
have the
Webster
Bernie?
Slaughter. We don't have a Bernie.
Give
took it.
It's
Yeah.
too special. We can't bring.
Do you have an Ozzie Newsome?
We've got to get more. We got some starting lineup guys right now running around here on the set. Webster Slaughter.
That team was sick back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, that team was fun to watch.
Good luck tonight, buddy. You got our
Kill
back.
it. Let's go.
Okay.
Salsa.
Thank you very much.
Some new moves
Let's
we've never
go.
seen before. Let's go. Let's go. Focus
Let's go.
on this. Fantasy Football 2022. But you just be the Dancing with the Stars champion because you're the champion of our hearts.
There it is. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. All right, go Browns.
The great
Let's
Biz.
go.
Joining us on the hotline, the Browns Bundle is back and participating Ohio Buffalo Wild Wings locations. With the purchase of a Browns Bundle, fans can get a limited edition collectible Cleveland Browns glass. The $14.99 Browns Bundle includes a 6-piece wing, fries, and Browns glass. This season collection honors the Browns' 75th anniversary season. If you're watching on the stream, you can see them here on the desk. 3 unique designs, the 75th anniversary logo, the throwback brownie, and the 1946 patch logo. Coming up next, Coach Stefanski in his Monday availability. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You guys are down.
EOX Vantage has that local presence with the global footprint. It's trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. This is a testimonial from an EOX Vantage client named Tom Dartry. He's the Senior Vice President of Specialty Programs at the NIP Group. He says, quote, I have a saying about working with EOX Vantage. If you dream it, they can build it. We generate lots of ideas for them to carry out. They've implemented everything we've came up with. We brainstorm ways to innovate and improve our company. We use EOX Vantage for the infrastructure, coding, programming capabilities, technological expertise, and experience working with global brands. We're absolutely thrilled with our partnership, and you can learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting them at www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616. Again, that's 216-298-1616. Coach Stefanski at the podium from earlier today. Let's have a listen.
Okay.
You guys are down 5 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, Rob. On the injury front, I'll have more information as MRIs come in and everything. But Greg Newsom's progressing with the calf. Jed's, we'll see how he is with this ankle and see how he does throughout the week. Ronnie Harrison was evaluated for a concussion. He does not have a concussion, but protocols, held him out of that game. And then Chris Hubbard with his triceps is getting better and making progress. Talking about the game, like we talked about yesterday, I thought the defense was outstanding. The defensive line consistently pressuring the quarterback, hitting the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, just they affected the game. And really played lights out. And I thought the guys were sticky in coverage, which was a big thing going into that game. Offensively possessed the ball, didn't give them any short fields. I think their average starting field position was the 22. And then special teams was good. Chase making his kicks and doing his job. So plenty to clean up, plenty that we can improve upon. And then we're going to go on the road again and play a really good Chargers team this week. And with that, I will take any questions.
And as far as your defense is concerned, Kevin, so impactful, like you said. What has led this turnaround the last 2 weeks? What is mesh that's really brought this unit together?
Well, I think there's probably a bunch of answers to that, Tom. I would just tell you, in terms of gelling, one of the main things I would say is up front, because you run line games, you move, you play off of each other. So I just think getting a few games under our belt, I think you're seeing the fruits of the labor of that defensive line and what they're doing at practice. I could probably cite you a bunch of other examples because guys are playing at a high level.
Obviously, Grant got pressed into a lot of action. I know you wanted to look at the film yesterday. You said that you kind of need to look at to know how he did. So in playing all but 2 snaps, what was your assessment of him, and how big was it for him to come in and give you that workload?
Yeah, he did a really nice job, Nate. He was physical, made a really big play on that far cross on their sideline to Thielen, but he did a nice job.
Hey, Coach, now how encouraging, obviously you didn't have the complete game on the offense, but the defense now is strung together 2 back-to-back games. So, you have the opportunity to sometimes win games just on the defensive side.
Yeah, Fred, you got to find a way to win any which way you can. And certainly yesterday, our defense took us home. It was an outstanding performance. And then this week, we'll see how the game goes. You just don't know. Special teams comes up big for us. So we'll play and we'll call the game that's called for. But in the NFL, if you want to be a good team, you got to find a way to win.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Greedy's first start since his rookie year. Just what'd you think from him? And then also just him getting his first NFL interception and considering everything he's been through in the last 14 months.
Yeah, Darryl, really proud of Greedy. I think all of you guys know that it was a hard year with that injury and a lot of waiting and a lot of just, getting work in the training room and the weight room and finally got good news after really weeks and months. So that was hard on him, and he came back and the guy's just been so singularly focused on helping this team win. And then to see him out there play well, play physical, get his hands on guys. That's a really good passing unit out there. So he was up to the challenge. And then, to come up with a big takeaway again versus a quarterback doesn't throw many of those. So he went up and got it, and it was really good to see.
And your front 4 really got after Kirk, as you mentioned. He's just a guy that doesn't get sacked. He gets rid of the ball real fast. Just how much did that open things up for you and Joe Woods when those guys were able to get home the way they were, at least get the pressure on him?
Yeah, I think those guys applied consistent pressure, whether we were rushing 4 were 5 or 6, and even at the end of the game, we rushed 3 and we got pressure. So that was an outstanding job by those guys. And I don't want to lose sight of the run defense either, because they were they did a great job versus the run as well.
You've shown that fourth down, you're going to be aggressive. And when you look at those analytics, does that factor in either momentum or how your defense is playing? Or I know it's got game situation, obviously.
30.
What else do you consider there before you decide to go for it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to consider, Tom, and we also we spent a lot of time talking about how we think the game was going to play out. And I think 14-7 was not how we thought it would play out. Points are a premium, but also we felt like we had to score touchdowns in that game. So that was the first drive there. But that adjusts throughout the game as you get more information. And really it adjusts by game as well.
You're up.
All right, good stuff from Coach there is we improved to 3-1. What's he, like 15-7 or something like that? And it says he's been
it would have been
here.
12-6,
yeah,
counting the playoffs. Yeah, 15-7 now, which is
quite good.
Quite good. Again,
yeah.
Another clean sheet. Remains undefeated when we have a clean sheet on offense. There was a little something that he did as well that just is a very minor thing, but it's something I noticed. I talked to Gibbe about, and late in the game, I'm curious if the TV announcers made any note of it. There were 17 seconds left, I want to say, Gibbe, something like that, single digits. This was right at the end of the game.
It was before the last play.
It was before the second to last play.
Yeah.
It was before the third down play. And Miles had just gotten a big pressure. He takes himself out because he was tired.
Yep.
And I remember we're like, we got a timeout.
Wait.
I even said, I said to Gibby, I go, we got a timeout here. Let's just take a timeout and we'll get him back in. Sure enough, Stefanski, I watch him, runs down to the official, tells him we're going to take a timeout, but also tells him we're waiting until we see their formation. So he let that play. He let them break their huddle. He let them come out, establish the look that they were going to give on that play, then called the timeout. Miles was obviously able to go back in on the next play, and you had an opportunity to at least understand what they were going to try to do there. I think it's those little things, those that are just – he's so good at that little minutia. It's like, oh, we don't have Miles. Let's get timeout. Let's get Miles right. But I'm also thinking about let's get a look at what they initially at least were going to throw out there, so that either way we're making them throw out a play that they weren't initially going to run, that they didn't think was their best for that situation. I thought that was genius. And another quick little thing, the 2-point conversion. Remember, we had gone for it on 4th and 2 right before that. So that's typically, you only have a couple.
You don't have a lot of those
plays in. So we thought that was our best one. DPJ roasts Kendricks. He ends up getting held, which gets the penalty, so we get to do it again. So I didn't know if he was going to then go for it from the 1, because we had just kind of used one of our good short yardage plays. But on the touchdown to Kareem Hunt on 3rd and 1, we sent Brian in motion, and he went through and kept blocking, and we ran it. We did basically the opposite, flipped the page, except this time had Janovich go in motion like he was going to come be the kick-out blocker, and then he just wheeled out for the catch, totally unguarded. Like, that little sequence of setting up, those are so minor, but to be cognizant of that in the moment is one of the things that I think makes him such a special head coach.
I think those are two very good examples, and it was something that was, I think, obvious. They didn't make mention of it, to answer your question in the fourth quarter about the fact that he called it to get Miles back in. They mentioned
and to see their formation.
Let alone that. You didn't get the mention of it. You saw that the timeout was made, but you did not get mention as to maybe why. As soon as I saw Miles, they did take a shot of Miles on one knee, and I said, my God, you want him in on this. You're going to want him
place to go.
You're going to want him in on this one. So you saw the timeout. Now, I can't recall if they mentioned – I'm trying to remember if you saw them take and then the timeout, or if that was mentioned. I don't think it was. But I remember thinking, boy, let's make sure that he's in on those, that you'd want that. So it's just the stuff he does. Like, there is nothing missed. I even think, honestly, like, and I know there's been some criticism of the play call on the deep shot to Odell. That's who Kevin Stefanski is. I mean, Odell is wide open. And if he walks into the end zone, and I know that, make Minnesota use that timeout. No, that's a walk-off.
That's a game over.
That's
Good night, Irene.
That is a walk-off. You hit that. It's 21-7. Have all the time you want. Have all the timeouts you want. It was perfectly schemed up. It was perfectly called. It was not thought going to be called because there's nobody within 20 yards of Odell. So that was a perfect play call. He can't help execution. All he can do is put you in a position to succeed. It's there, and that's something that you got to hit. But it's a brilliant play call. Don't misconstrue. That's a brilliant
Harrison
play call.
Smith is a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Without looking off the top of my head, I guarantee he's at least been an All-Pro once, I would say, Harrison Smith.
Feels
at
like
least.
it, yeah, in the last couple of years, yeah.
And he was expecting the out right at the sticks, which Odell sold and went up. That play call basically turned it into on air. That was an on air. We're running out and up on air, just two people. And unfortunately, the execution wasn't there. The connection didn't happen the way that you would have wanted to. But that play call, you're playing, as Herm Edwards would say, you play to win the game.
Games.
That's a walk-off. And that's one, too. Here's the other thing about it. From a psychological standpoint, and this could just be me, I could be wrong about this. Yes, 5-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 2017, Harrison Smith. Shook out his boots.
Yeah.
Never in a million years saw that coming. I believe what he was trying to do as another layer, now this part of it didn't work out, but was we dial this up, okay? We get what we got. My QB hits that throw.
Yeah.
It's a walk-off passing touchdown. It's Baker to Odell. It's all of the whole game that just happened is thrown out. All we're talking about is the knockout punch. Everybody comes out of the game feeling even better about themselves.
Yes.
And to set up the next, I think that's some of the psychology of that is next level. And it was there. And you could say, well, the fact that it was there and it didn't happen, maybe that's even more hurtful. I don't think so. I think that the whole body of the game, Baker would say, I missed throws. I think his own words were this was a piss-poor performance. And I think he's being a little harsh on himself. He made some good things. I think it would be foolish to not acknowledge that his accuracy has not been the same after the shoulder injury as it was before.
Correct.
Because before he was right there and he wasn't missing those things. But that'll get back. But I love that play call.
Yeah.
And when do you see, you guys all watch a lot of games, when do you see a play that appears as though there is not a defense on the field?
Everything you said is spot on. The only other thing I would add to it is now it is also on film that's there. So that helps too, because the next time there's a third and something, maybe you take an extra step back. Everything he does, he remembers.
Of course.
Instead of next time there being an out and up, it'll just be the out and they'll be wide open because the guy will be bailing on the up. So that's what everything he does is with purpose and has a plan, and we're frankly very, very lucky to have him because you're consistently put in the best position to win. The Hoff coming up here in about 15 minutes. Couple minutes with you. What did you make of Brady Belichick last night? Did you watch the whole thing?
Of course.
So I was exhausted. I just smoked, and I'm like, there's no way I'm getting to the end of this game. But I was in, and the game was not aesthetically pleasing in any way. But the drama to it was really remarkable. And the standpoint to the point where when Al Michaels says, and Michelle Tafoya will be with Tom after this break, I'm like, well, I'm not going to bed now.
No, you're going to watch that.
I'm going to watch this now. I guess I'm in for this. And then I watched. It was 1:45 by the time the dang thing was over.
Fastest hug ever.
But I think fine.
Totally
because
fine.
that's who they are. That's who Belichick is. He's not going to give you that moment. And then the report this morning from Schefter that he went into the locker room, into the Buccaneers locker room, and that he and Brady spent 20 minutes together.
Right, he's not doing it
for
public.
He's not giving it to you. Did you hear his comments after the game? It was a 10-minute bite. He goes, we saw Tom Brady a lot every day in practice. We know how good Tom Brady is. We just got to get better. That's it. What was it like playing Tom Brady? That was the answer. So he gives the goods to Brady one-on-one behind closed doors.
Of course.
They have their moment. It was pretty wild, though, to see. I don't know that we'll ever see anything like that again. Somebody that accomplished come back, and it wasn't his choice to leave. It's kind of like the Manning thing, except it's even tenfold, like when Manning left Indy.
Yes.
That's the most similar thing, is when Manning left Indy. That was the most similar.
So we got great ovations, but during the game, people were rooting for the Patriots.
Of course, and I think that he would probably want that.
There were a lot of people there that it felt like they felt like Brady abandoned them in some of those, where they would
People
get some
are
of the
idiots.
locals people. So I had my buddy Pat was at the game, and this is the guy I
Okay.
told you he and his father now have tickets to the Bucs.
Yeah.
And they did kind of like what I did. I still was a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
But, like, when Joe came back with the Chiefs, when they had that game early in that season, early in 94, I want to say, like, 100% I was rooting for Joe Montana. I felt, how do you jettison this no matter what? This guy finishes his career here.
Yeah.
No matter what. You do whatever it takes, he finishes his career. So he sent me a video right after the Bucs had scored one of their touchdowns. And I don't know if it'll come through, but he says, look at this disgusting crowd. Dead silent for a Tom Brady touchdown. The guy built this stadium, and he's saying this for sure loud enough that everybody there can hear it. And he's a Northeastern guy. He's from from the area, and just he was having the time of his life. But he's like, the crowd. Look at this disgusting crowd, silent for a Tom Brady touchdown.
That's great. That's great.
It's so great.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had it in the scores. Too.
You
It was
had
close.
the scores.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing here's this. I'd never really watched much Mac Jones, as you know.
Yeah.
Once I had been so immersed in the college world, covering it as I did for those many years.
Yep.
Down at club, it says, I'm an NFL guy.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. You're stepping away.
So I didn't watch much of the Mac Jones.
One would suggest, though, that maybe you're derelict in your other duties if you're not watching the college, considering you have another job. But continue.
Well, yeah. But now I'm really focused. I'm all bought in. Come on. The Browns are where it's at, brother. It's the hottest ticket in town. When I think about Mac Jones, not a guy that I had seen much of.
Sure.
So this is my takeaway. This is not any. This is just me watching one full game of Mac. He is the most uncomfortable looking quarterback I think I've ever seen. His feet are always moving in weird ways. He does not have any feel for the pocket. He throws, I think, a funky-looking ball. Like, his arm movement is odd to me. It's kind of not even Phillip Rivers, but it's just kind of
darts. Yeah, he does.
And it doesn't look like he is any threat to you down the field whatsoever.
No. That being said, it's actually fine for what they're doing right now because he throws it within 2.5 seconds. He completed 19 in a row
yards
at one point. Yeah, they couldn't run it, and he just kept throwing little darts, and they just kind of matriculated it down the field. It takes incredible discipline to play that way because you're basically saying I will not take a shot ever because they don't.
What'd you bring in Nelson Aguilar for? The guy averaged 28,000 yards a catch last year.
I guess for Cam. I don't know what the heck you brought him in for. The biggest difference between, you mentioned Montana, and again, I understand certainly that, but they did have another guy there. Like the Colts did have the opportunity to draft Andrew Luck. Like the Patriots
had
no
Aaron
reason.
Rodgers.
They had Aaron Rodgers behind Favre. Like there was, okay, we're going to be fine. The Patriots said, we're good when they weren't. And if they just would have signed him, he would have been there his whole career. You saw how emotional it was. He wouldn't even leave Tafoya. She asked him 5 questions, tear-jerk questions. He deflects. You could tell he's getting emotional. And then at the end, he looks into the camera to thank the city of Boston.
Want to be a part of this community for a long time.
Jeez. Like, he really
Didn't
wanted.
he say he wants to move back? Or
He said,
I'm always going to be a part of this community. You'll see me a lot. Like, and he will. They will. He will. I could see him going back there and being the general manager if he wanted to do that. I don't know if that's something he wants, but I could see him doing that. Belichick's 70. Wouldn't that be the final?
Oh, my goodness. Just full circle. I'm in. You're out. I'm running the show now.
My turn.
Okay, the other thing we need to talk about, I know that apparently a photo of me has become meme-worthy that has gone around for me.
Oh, it's so strong.
Sliding with a little blue steel.
Yep,
very strong. On the 4th down,
very
just checking out the spot there.
That's right.
Steve Belichick. What a night. What a night he had. I mean, there were every time the camera was on him, he gave you something spectacular.
I think if there is a lesson to be had from this weekend, whether you are in
mullets are back,
whether you are in an establishment with your name on it, on national television coaching for your dad, or a lovely innocent sideline reporter
in a velvet,
a velour velvet, the cameras are always on. The cameras.
Why do you think I went blue steel?
Of course.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Let's
for
just say, of the 3 examples I gave, you come out of it looking the best. The other 2, little less. Interesting presser down in Jacksonville today.
He probably should feel pretty happy he's having it.
Well, for now, The Browns high school football game of the week is back and presented by Ohio Cat in association with MedLiminal. Fans can vote now to determine this week's game on clevelandbrowns.com and @Browns on Twitter. Polls close Thursday at noon. This week's candidates: Aurora at Barberton, Avon Lake against Elyria, Hudson and North Royalton, Hawken and Beechwood. The winning team from the selected game of the week receives $2,500 for their high school football program. Vote today. The Joe Thomas Hour coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
the guys we have on offense.
And on 1st and 10, he takes it. Play action fake. There's a blitzer coming, and he got hit as he threw, and then Dalvin Cook lost the ball as he got it knocked away. The Browns got in there and belted it away. Taki got over there and knocked it loose. And boy, did Cousins get rocked off the corner. It was Denzel Ward, Doug, on a corner blitz. Baker takes it. Baker gives it to Hunt. Off the left side, he drives in. Touchdown! Kareem Hunt! Right over Batonio.
Not a bad place to run behind.
Boy, what a ton of work to get that in. Mayfield gets motion off the left side. He's back to pass, throws, corner of the end zone, and it's caught.
You guys are up.
Anytime, good job out of you, Gibby. Anytime we hear one of those, you're reminded.
Give him the sign. Give him the huge P over there.
You are, yeah. I was also going to, yeah, I will. You are reminded how blessed we are to have Jim Donovan.
Oh my goodness,
he is
so good.
He's
ridiculous.
So good.
Yes,
and that was great. So this was a fun defensive win for the Browns, and with that we bring in the Hoff, the great Joe Thomas, for the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily. Joe, this one to me was, Nathan and I talked about it off the top of the show, to win in a way where your pass game just isn't clicking, and to still be able to take a Minnesota offense that had been so potent and just strangle it the way that we did, to me is a heck of a harbinger of things to come in terms of what this team is capable of, because I do believe the pass game will get on track, and you can run it right now, and the way that defense has played the last couple of weeks, look out.
Well, that was what everyone was telling me, like, oh, ugly win, but, you know, we snuck one out there, and it felt good to just get the win. And I'm thinking, no, this is a great sign for the future, right? Because on the day when your passing game wasn't there the way it had been earlier this season so far, you still had your running game and you still had your defense. And if you want to win a championship, somewhere along the road, whether it be late in December or January or maybe even in February, you're going to have that game where they're just doing a better job than you are in the passing game, and it's not there. And are you going to be able to find a way to win in a different manner than you're used to? That's what breeds championship football, and that's why I was so excited after the game. Yes, the defense played awesome. The running game was still there, but finding a way to win when you don't have your fastball, to me, that was really exciting. And I know, especially after hearing Baker after the game, he's not going to put a stinker out there again like that this season. And so when you think about how good they can be when Baker's clicking, when defense is continuing to improve and play at the high level that they've played at the last couple of weeks, and you're going to have that running game in your back pocket, look out. This is definitely one of those teams that might have some say who wins that Super Bowl in February.
And we love to hear that. And you're right, it's apparent. And Hoff, for those of us who are not, able to have ever been in the film room on a Victory Monday for the Cleveland Browns, how much easier is it to watch some of those things and say, here are the areas for improvement when it's coming off of a win, as opposed to, man, if I had just done this, we would have won. You still won anyway.
Well, they sting a little bit less, right? Like, you don't walk in there feeling like you need a roll of Tums before you go into those meetings, because you know that when you do lose, every little mistake you made could have been the difference, especially in a close game. You're thinking, man, if I would have just done my job better on that one play, you feel like you let your team down. And to be able to go in there and get the win, even though not everybody played their best game, it feels really good. And hopefully, and I think this is one of the great things about Kevin Stefanski being an even keel coach, you're going to get as much out of this game from a correction standpoint as you would have if you would have lost. Because there are those roller coaster coaches. You come in after a win and they kind of gloss over a lot of the stuff that happened because, we won, so it doesn't really matter. We're feeling good. Everybody's having cigars after the game and popping corks and stuff. But Kevin Stefanski treats a win just like a loss as far as the film study. There's always stuff to be learned, and it's all about the process. And I think that's why he is such a great coach, and he's got the respect of that entire roster, and they continue to improve every single week since he's been here.
And, Joe, no Newsome, no Walker on defense. These are guys that when you're at your best, they're going to be on the field. Anthony Walker's probably not going to come off much at all. Greg Newsome's played almost every snap when he's been healthy. So you do this without them. Two things that have happened in the last couple of weeks to me have changed his defense, and I wanted to get your thought on them, and that's Grant Delpit's health. What did he play, 97% of the snaps yesterday, Z, something like that? He is a heat-sinking missile. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who – the Kelsey stuff in week one, who can blame him? A rookie against Travis Kelsey, it's going to happen. He sits down, and he came back last week against Chicago. I'd have to look at the PFF grades. I assume he's one of the highest-rated linebackers in all of the NFL, the way that he's playing. Those two guys are weapons, Joe, that I don't know if we've had anything like that in a very long time.
Well, Z and I were talking this morning about how awesome that defense played, and the thing that really got me excited was when you look at the defense, there was guys that were out there making plays for other guys on the defense. You talk about JOK and some of those linebackers just running in there like a heat-seeking missile, blowing up a play so that somebody else could get the tick on their stat sheet. To me, that's what team defense is all about, and that's what championship defense is all about. And that's a great reflection of the type of coach that Joe Woods is, right? He's getting those guys to buy in that are willing to sacrifice their own stats to be able to get stats for their brothers. Like, that's true love, man. Like, that's exactly what you want to build a great roster and a great team, is guys that are willing to sacrifice for their brother. Like, that's what team is.
That's a Delpit play where he blows up the fullback.
Yeah, and we have guys who can cover space. There was a play, a run that's going around where Madison got stopped for a 1-yard gain, and Owusu-Koramoah is like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and it looks like he has a hole, and he's there, takes his legs out from under him. He is, by the way, the number 2 graded linebacker in the entire NFL at Pro Football Focus, behind only Matt Milano, ahead of guys like Demario Davis, ahead of the big names, all of Fred Warner, all the guys that in the National Football League that are considered to be the elites. He is number 2 behind only Matt Milano. Hoff, you talk about guys doing things for other people, and this is something you and I talked about, but if you're an offensive line and you've already got your hands full with Clowney and Tack, who's now got sacks in back-to-back games, and of course the incomparable Myles Garrett, but it's the Maliks, and I talked with Malik Jackson after the game. He said 2 weeks ago he just kind of changed his mindset, and it was, I'm not worried about getting sacks. I know that if I just push this pocket and Malik next to me, if we just throttle the interior of their offensive line and push them back, nobody's going to be able to deal with our pass rush. And in the last 2 weeks, I would say that's true. 9 sacks a week ago, pressure rate of over 50%, 9 pressures, 3 hits from the Maliks alone in this game against the Vikings. What does that do, and why is that making life so difficult for offensive lines and quarterbacks?
That was one of the things that we talked about, Z, early on in the season was, hey, we need to improve this pass rush, right? And it's not necessarily the guys on the edge that need to improve, because I was seeing those guys win consistently. They're winning up the field and around the corner, and sometimes they're winning with the bull rush, but a lot of times it's that dip and rip to the outside. But we weren't getting enough pressure from the inside. And it wasn't necessarily that they weren't beating their guy, but they were allowing a lot of rushing lanes for the quarterback to be able to step up and throw the ball or step up and escape. We saw that with Patrick Mahomes, and we saw that with some of the other quarterbacks they played early on. But I think Malik, being a veteran guy, just proves his savvy and proves his worth right there, when the understanding is that, hey, we're going to be more productive as a defense, and I'm going to be better as an individual player with my own stats if I collapse the pocket from the inside so the quarterback doesn't have anywhere to step up when Miles and Tack and Jadeveon close that edge and force the quarterback to either step up or get his head taken off. So it was really fun that we really got to see that in the last couple of weeks, where when you get that interior pass rush, that push that everybody talks about, it forces that quarterback to decide, where do I want to go? Do I want to go up into the backs of my center and my guards? Or am I okay to try to sit back here and watch these two Bulldogs come off the edge and take my head off?
Joe, I want to flip it to the offensive side of the ball because it's 3rd and 20 on your own 26 right before half. And you say to yourself, all right, let's just get out of here. Let's just get to half. We'll go ahead with the lead, and we'll lick our wounds in terms of things we got to improve upon, and we'll get some things sorted out. And then Kareem Hunt goes 33 yards on 3rd and 20. And JC was great out there blocking on that, leading the way. Nathan mentioned Odell out there blocking as well. But that's a 33-yarder. Then all of a sudden, we got a legit field goal kicker now, Chase McLaughlin, so we can make a 48-yard field goal. And all of a sudden, now you get points. And that's the stuff that good to great teams do, isn't it, Hoff? Is you take it – well, first of all, you have an exceptional player like Kareem Hunt, but you take full advantage of every opportunity you have to score. And that's ends up being a critical play in this game.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Kevin Stefanski as a coach. He doesn't coach tight, right? And it's all about kind of that even keel mentality, just understanding, like, we're going to play the odds and we're going to always try to have them in our favor, and I'm not going to let fictional things like emotion and momentum and things like that, like, get in the way of my decision making. If it's the best decision after a penalty on our extra point to now go for 2, and that's what historically and what my analytics team says, like, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give my team the best chance to win. I'm not going to get nervous. I'm going to make that decision because they're going to hammer me in the media if it doesn't work out. Like, he's just Mr. Stone Cold Killer as far as, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. We're always going to make the decision that gives us the best chance to win. And then, you know what? If it doesn't work out and I get criticized after the game, I'm okay standing there in front of the team, in front of the media, and taking that hit, because I know deep down inside, and these men in this room know, that I'm making the decisions that are in the best interest of our team at that moment in time. And it is a game that's tough. Sometimes those decisions, they don't work out, but you saw a couple examples of those things working out last weekend, and it's really fun to have a coach that you feel like you can count on and rely on in those pressure situations to make the right call, to make the right decision when maybe another coach would just play the conservative route because he's worried about maybe some blowback in the media.
No, I think that's Kevin Stefanski's always just going to be true to himself and the preparation that he's put in the process. I mean, that's what we talked about, the 4 Ps. We know those already. But it's that commitment to the process of giving this team the chance to succeed. Oh, you're going to commit a penalty there? We're going to go ahead and go for 2 at the 1-yard line because we believe we can do it. We're going to show you something we just showed you on the touchdown, flip the field, and then instead of this time having it be a run, we're going to throw that flare out pass to Andy Janovich, which we do and was successful, and that makes it 8. I mean, you see 14-7, we all follow football. You see 14-7, you are immediately assuming we've scored 2 touchdowns, they've scored 1. And in our case, it was a touchdown, a 2, and 2 field goals that got us to 14. And, you know, in the last 2 weeks, McLaughlin's made 3 field goals longer than any field goal we made last season. Right. That's a weapon. That's another weapon to have, you know, in the holster for the Browns, which is a good thing.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Having that kicker that's got the leg, that's got that confidence that he's been building from the beginning part of the season, it's a huge weapon, right? As Browns fans, we know what it's like when you don't have that kicker, you know, in those middle ages. And then I remember back to when I was there with Phil Dawson. It was great. As an offense, you have that mindset then, like, we're going to win this game if we need a field goal once we get to the 35-yard line. So you're able to, like, get that in your mind that we know exactly what we need to do to win this game. Yeah. Would we like to get it closer? Yeah. But you have a pretty good idea that you've got a kicker who's feeling confident. He's got the leg. and he can follow through, and McLaughlin's been doing that for him.
Joe, as we mentioned, it's awesome to learn amidst winning and to win in different ways, but also acknowledging that the pass game is certainly not where you needed it to be. The fact that Kareem Hunt is your leading receiver, an inability to this point of a receiver on our team to catch a touchdown pass. What are you seeing on that side of things that from your eye that you say, boy, this is a couple things here and there, you're going to be all right?
Well, that's how the passing game is, right? It's a high risk, high reward business, and those passes down the field, you hit a couple deep balls, those are 14 points, just 2 of them, right? And all of a sudden you're feeling a heck of a lot better about your situation than we are right now. And I think part of that is just Baker was 15 out of 33, so he didn't complete the passes at the rate he had been at thus far in the season, which was pretty amazing. If you look at what his completion percentage was coming into this game, I don't have the number in front of me, but it was super high. Yeah, I mean, it was impressive. I'm going to say it was the best in the NFL. I know that's not absolutely patently false because I think Dak Prescott was the completing the highest percentage. But I'm going to pretend because he's my guy. So he was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL going into this game. So one blip on the radar doesn't bother me. But as far as like the big plays, he just overthrew him. I think he was just excited out there. And sometimes as a quarterback, being that, I was a quarterback for a lot of years, you miss one and then you feel like you got to press and you got to make the next one. And especially with Odell out there, you feel like, man, I had him. I really want to reward him for all the hard work he's doing. And you can get in your head a little bit. And I think you get a little bit sideways and a little bit sidetracked and you get away from who you are as a quarterback. So I'm excited to watch Baker come out next week because that's exactly when he plays his best ball, right? It's kind of the back against the wall, chip on the shoulder. That's when you get the best version of Baker. And you could see that after the game. He's really excited and really motivated to come back and prove that last week was a little bit of an anomaly, and he's not going to miss those guys. And I'm excited to watch him and OBJ continue to build that connection and that chemistry.
Same, and I mean, listen, we were talking. Odell could have been over $150 with a couple scores easy in this game. His route running was crisp. He was open at times, and there were plays where the ball went a different direction, and others when he was wide open and the ball just didn't quite get to him. But you're right. I think there's something there. I want to ask you this as a guy, we know about your incredible streak of consecutive snaps played. Huff, you did that, as we've now learned, in a great deal of pain many, many times. How much do you think for Baker could this left shoulder, I know he throws it with his right arm, but just when you're not feeling 100%, is that something that could be a factor? Because the facts are his completion percentage pre-injury and his completion percentage after are quite different.
It's clearly bothering him, and I know people that have not made their living throwing balls and objects, like myself, sometimes they don't appreciate that throwing something is a total body movement, and you use a lot of your opposite shoulder and arm when you are throwing the football, and so just little differences in how it feels can have a big difference on how the football comes out. Now, I think you'd have to get a biomechanics person on here or maybe a former quarterback that could give you a good idea of like, hey, the ball's coming out high because the shoulder hurts here and it's feeling a little bit different when it releases from your finger here. But all I know is if that shoulder is bothering him, which it clearly is because he got dinged pretty good. There's plenty of quarterbacks in the NFL that wouldn't be playing right now, but he's a tough guy. He's toughing it out. He wants to be out there. He knows that being out there gives his team the best chance for success. And so he's going out there and maybe playing with a lot of pain that's affecting the way he's throwing the football. And so you hope that shoulder can continue to heal as he's working through practice and games. And he'll start feeling a little bit more comfortable with playing with that ache and pain in the shoulder that he has so that the ball comes out a little bit more consistently for him.
Yeah, well said on that point. If your Social Security benefits have been denied, call the disability lawyers at 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coming up next, we'll hand out some game balls on a Victory Monday, plus take a look at the first quarter of the season. I guess we can't do that anymore.
There are no quarters.
Sort of.
I think you have to. It's a quarter.
Sort of.
We're at the 4 game point.
We have 4 quarters, and then we have like a little bonus.
A bonus game. Yeah, that's how they sell it to the NFLPA. It's a bonus game. Right. Nothing to see here.
Dessert.
No big deal. Joe, what's like one dessert? More? You can play one more. It's not that hard.
God, anybody can do anything one time.
Joe Thomas is here on the Joe Thomas Hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Imagine kicking back in the evenings in your very own hot tub. Now imagine actually being able to afford one. Northeast Factory Direct buys hot tubs by the truckload. You still get a 6-person hot tub with the lounger and the lights and still afford all of your fall and winter activities. Think owning a hot tub would be a pain. Northeast Factory Direct hot tubs come with an exclusive hardtop cover. You don't have to worry about safety or convenience. Plus, they're going to get a lifetime warranty on that cover. If you're looking for a way to stay active, they have these amazing swim spas. It's like a hot tub, but you can adjust the jets, give you a gentle current. You can swim against it. You can use them year-round. You can see for yourself West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia, or shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. All right, gentlemen, time to pass out some game balls. Let's start with the Hoff, and let's start with one player on offense. Who do you got?
Kareem Hunt, man. He is becoming one of my all-time favorite Browns. Watching what he does, he's so versatile, what he gives you in the screen game, what he gives you in the draw game, the heart that he plays with. And then, oh, by the way, when Nick Chubb is ready to get a little bit of a rest, you can call all the exact same runs for Kareem, and he runs them a little bit differently. And so even though it looks the same to a defense, it kind of hits a little bit differently because of how he runs. And I think it makes it really tough on a defense. And as a Browns fan, he's some guy that you really can have a lot of pride when you watch him out there because he plays the game, and you hear this all the time, the way it should be played.
He's one of my favorite Browns to watch, period. And I tell that
I love it.
I've the distinct every time. Dude, I should love
It's
watching
so
you
fun.
play. It is
So
just
fun.
relentless. His motor and his joy for the game. He has a joy for the way that he plays. He would be the one. I'll give mine to his backfield mate, Nick Chubb. The quietest. It reminds me of, back in the day in the NBA, you'd have a guy like Kelly Trapuka in the early days of the Charlotte Hornets, and all of a sudden he's got 22 in that first year of the expansion. You're like, wait a second, I didn't see that. But just a very easy 100 yards, 21 carries, 100 yards, long run of 13. But it just felt like 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 7 yards there. Just a very steady diet of Nick Chubb continuing to be that elite runner. And the Browns, now between Chubb and Hunt, they have at least 100 yards rushing and a touchdown in every single game this year.
Yeah, it's that they are so dominant, the two of them. Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. Who do you have for your game ball defensively, Hoff?
I want to give it to Jadeveon Clowney. I know he only had one tackle in the game, but he was a huge part of that game, forcing the quarterback off of his spot multiple times in the game. He was making guys uncomfortable, creating the type of havoc in the run game, disrupting blocking schemes that I think me personally was really excited to see because I know he's not always been a big sack guy, but I've always said, he's additive to any defense you put him out there on because of what he does in the run game. He's such a force, and he's so difficult from a matchup standpoint for tight ends and tackles because how quick he is that he disrupts the timing in the run game so well. And I think he had a big part in why this defense played so well and was able to really shut down this really pretty good Minnesota Vikings offense.
Yeah, 7 pressures on the day for Jadeveon Clowney. I'm going to give mine to Greedy Williams. We all know what he went through to get back that injury, and at times, it had to creep into his mind. I might not ever play this game again. And they went at him a few times. He was right there, comes up with the huge interception on the deep ball to Thielen where he sloughs off as that other side cover 3 corner, gets himself back there, and is able to undercut that throw to Thielen and make the interception. Just kudos to him. He was, from Pro Football Focus's by grades, he was our second best graded player, an elite coverage grade of 87 in this one, and just tremendous job. There are so many names. I mean, say a name that wore a uniform, played defense for the Browns, as you could legitimately give them a game ball. They should all get them, frankly.
Yeah, certainly. All right, get your Hey Joe questions in to Gibbe at Browns_daily. We will get to those. Guys, let's take a look at the state of this team through the first quarter of the season, even though, yes, we are playing 17 games. Offensively, Z, I'll start with you on this thing. What's one thing you've liked?
Just our ability to move the football and wear teams down on the ground. Because 2 weeks in a row, our passing game has not been what it was the first 2 weeks. It has not been that efficient. And yet, that tandem of Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and then the guys up front, you can't forget those guys. Joel and Jed and JC and Wyatt and Jack. Getting that push. The tight ends have been instrumental in the blocking. The receivers, talked about Odell down the field. Donovan Peoples-Jones hasn't shown up much in the stat sheet as a receiver, but did draw that 4th down penalty and has been a great blocker. But just the fact that this run game can just take over games and wear defenses down.
Hoff, how about you?
I love the direction that the defense is headed. there's a lot of people right now in the national media talking about the Browns defense as one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I know that people that follow the Browns closely and saw all the moves they made in the offseason with the free agent pickups and then the draft, they realized that we were going to be better. But I don't think anybody really knew how this defense was going to come together. And at the beginning, it took a few weeks before I think you really started seeing Joe Woods' vision for what this defense can be. And now when I watch this defense, they fly around as well as anybody in the NFL. And I see that matchup, because a lot of times, winning down the stretch is matchup related. Like, all right, they've got a great down the field passing attack. Can you cover in man coverage down the field? Can you get pass rush up front? Like, how do you match up? That a lot of times determines those outcomes when it's a one-game playoff, which is what the NFL playoff is. And it's fun because I think that defense that we have, the way they play, the way they fly around, speed, coverage in the back end, pressure up front with their pass rush, ability to neutralize opponents' running game. I mentioned earlier with Jadeveon Clowney and what he does and the problems he presents on the edge. Malik Jackson inside, Malik McDowell, and of course, the front runner, in my opinion, for Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. This is a defense that is really fun. It's ascending, and it's really finally, I think, getting some awesome praise on the national level. And when you have an offense as good as the Browns do, a running game and a defense, that's a recipe for success.
Guys, could it be as simple as Delpit and Owusu-Koramoah being healthy and being able to run? I mean,
I think it's that.
That's a huge part of it, right? Because he has that versatility now.
I think it's that. I think it's the depth that you have, Malcolm Smith stepping in, Greedy Williams stepping in, and then I think it is the mindset up front of the Maliks to push the pocket, not be worried about their sacks. It's allowing the edge guys to be even more dominant, and it all just goes together. We've got speed, we've got talent, and up front we have a foursome that really can't be blocked.
Not with five.
By five guys right now.
No, not at all. All right, MVP, offense or defense? We'll start with the Hoff on this one. Who is this team MVP through the first quarter of the season, Hoff?
Oh, boy. I'm going to say Kareem Hunt. It's hard for me not to go with Myles Garrett, so there's me kind of hedging my bet between the two guys I think deserve it. But I just think Kareem Hunt, he does so much for this team emotionally. He does so much in the receiving game, screens, passes out of the backfield, and what he brings physically in the rushing game is amazing. And if I had to give it to one guy, that'd be my guy.
I love what he does as well in terms of Kareem Hunt. I'm going to go with Myles Garrett as the MVP. And really, it's, as I said, everybody working together on that defensive side. But, I mean, if we're disbanding every team in the NFL, the first guy who is wearing a Cleveland Browns uniform that would be drafted in that redraft of the National Football League would be Myles Garrett.
Yep. Yeah. That, I mean,
Hoff likes it. He liked it. You like that, Hoff?
It's true. It's true. Yeah,
I love it. I love Myles, but I knew you'd pick him, so I wanted to.
Share the wealth.
I didn't want to steal your answer.
The benevolent Hoff.
But by the way, the fact that he's right that Kareem is the offensive MVP of this team, and you have Nick Chubb too, and you have that offensive line, but that's how well Kareem's playing right now. It's stunning.
He has been instrumental in momentum shifts in each of the last two wins. In
really
securing
good way to
them.
put it.
He has been critical to what we have done, and you got to remember, we have had Odell for only 2 games. We've had Jarvis for 1 game. He got hurt on the very first catch in week number 2 against the Houston Texans. We have not had a full season of Jarvis. We have not had Odell. We've had Anthony Walker for 1 game.
Jed's been playing hurt all season.
Jed's been playing hurt. Delpit has just gotten back into the mix. I mean, we have overcome, as every team has to in the National Football League, but we're finding ways to win, and I think overall that mentality and that desire. And I remember talking to Kareem at the beginning of the year, and he goes, we look around this locker room, we know how good we are. We know how well coached we are. So there is a responsibility on us to do everything we can to get it done. And I think that carried over to what we've heard about now, this defensive meeting. Malik Jackson's expanded on that, says every Thursday the players on their own go out and do a film study on third down defense. Since they've done that, they've allowed 6 of 27 third down conversions. I mean, it's those little things that you love to hear, the camaraderie and the buy-in and the commitment to greatness that's happening here.
Joe, I've got a Hey Joe question from Cosmos to you on this one. What is your opinion on the
Kramer?
Cosmos Kramer? He wants to know, what is Joe's opinion of the offensive line pass protection right now?
I think it's been awesome. I mean, there's obviously always going to be mistakes because those other guys get paid too, and they're going to win a few, but the pass protection's been great. There's very few times when Baker doesn't have enough time to at least get through his second or third read. So I think it's been awesome. I mean, I got no complaints.
Yeah, certainly not. We will go around the league in a wild weekend. I want to get your take on what you saw last night in Foxborough, but also around the AFC North, where, frankly, we have to keep winning just to keep pace with what this division is doing. That is coming up next. You're listening to the Joe Thomas Hour on Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up in a loss. So always set limits before you bet. Get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. Let's go around the league, and let's start in Foxborough last night. Joe, surreal scene seeing Brady go back there. What did you make of it?
Well, it was unbelievable football. I thought the game was fantastic. It was, in my opinion, I wanted to see the Patriots get out because I am a well-known Patriots hater for what they did to me during my career. But the weather kind of played a big factor, and it seemed like maybe for one of the first times in Brady's career, the emotions of the situation led him to be maybe too excited because he saw those balls sailing a lot, and he had a hard time. Even once I think his accuracy sort of calmed down, his receivers had a hard time catching the ball with the rain. So it wasn't a big scoring game where the Patriots blew them out like you might have expected. But I will say Sunday night, my wife and I, we are Gestapos about getting in bed at like 7:30 for the kids because it's a school night because they got to get up at 6:30. But last night we let them stay up because it's the weirdest thing. But my son is a big Tom Brady fan. Loves the Browns, loves Baker, but he loves Tom Brady, and so the whole family stayed up till about halftime and watched the game, and it was awesome. It was quite the spectacle. It was awesome. I mean, I don't think I am prone to hyperbole, but I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this may have been the biggest regular season game of my lifetime. I know that there's games obviously that have meaned a lot more as far as getting into the playoffs and stuff like that, but as far as like storylines and games that are going to be talked about for a long, long time, because the greatest debate of the 21st century is the greatest franchise and the greatest dynasty is the Patriots. Who's more responsible, Brady or Belichick, right? That's the debate that'll go on forever.
Yeah.
And this game sort of had a chance for Belichick to maybe at least get one notch in that argument after what Brady did last season. I thought he did a good job as far as if you're just talking about, who's more important because of the game coming down to the wire. Mac Jones playing really good football. But in the end, I think we saw why the Patriots were so good for so long is because when you have that guy, Tom Brady, at quarterback, everybody believes that as long as they do their job and make their play, he's going to give you a chance and he's going to win the game. And so guys just play better in those situations. They don't get tight. They don't try to play outside of themselves, and you get the best version of them. And you saw that from Tampa Bay. And it was funny. You saw the Patriots kicker miss one. You saw the Tampa Bay kicker make one. And a little bit of a role reversal from what we were normally seeing when Brady was in New England.
Why do you think we have to do that? Why do you think we have to have that debate? Why can't we just say this is
because there's all the shows. It's fun.
Is it fun?
How are we going to get paid?
Yes, because it's cheaper than hiring a bunch of reporters to fill all the time.
Not even a reporter. I'm saying in this particular case, they're both incredibly responsible.
Well, I'll back you up on this.
Yeah.
I don't ever hear anybody say who's more responsible for the 49ers, Bill Walsh or Joe Montana.
Never.
You never hear that. They're just linked.
Right.
I don't think you ever hear that about, certainly Noel and Bradshaw or Noel in the defense or whatever. Like they're linked together.
Phil and Jordan and with the Bulls. You never heard, was it more
no,
Phil? Was it more
no, you don't hear that.
That's all I meant. I mean, this particular case, I love analyzing everything.
Yeah.
I think
you make a valid point that you don't do it with any other.
Like Popovich and Duncan, nobody's ever said was that more, it's just, they're great. It's greatness. Greatness.
Well, why is that? I'm not. Now you have piqued my interest.
Well, no, I think
why don't we have those conversations?
Because in those days there wasn't 24-hour sports talk radio, social media. There wasn't what there is now in terms of platforms. Where look at NFL Network, ESPN, Fox, all of it. They've got to make 20. You've been on shows, Joe. You're on a fantastic show every Thursday night. Your producer on that show is going, all right, for these 10 minutes, we're going to talk about this. Because it's interesting, and that's why. It's the same reason that 10 years ago Tebow was on every show, because he was polarizing. You took a side.
Sure.
That's why.
I will say, and I think there's one more factor with it, because the Popovich one was recently enough in that
Well,
era,
they're not.
But they never were contentious. There's
no controversy surrounding them. There's not Deflategate. There's not Spygate. There's
no
not
power struggle either, that it felt like at the end. See, Bill Walsh was already gone in San Francisco by the time Montana was jettisoned. Had Bill Walsh still been the coach there, and then, they don't win for a few years, I think you would have had all of that that might have happened. But I think it's because of the way that it ended that people felt that They had to take sides. Is Brady right? Is Belichick right?
Yeah.
Who's responsible? And I can tell you that the majority of Patriots fans, it felt like, still were very much rooting for the Patriots, except my buddy Pat was disgusted by the silence at a Tom Brady touchdown.
Well, look, the team doesn't go anywhere, right? You root for laundry. The team isn't going anywhere. The players come and go, but the laundry stays.
As a kid, though, when they got rid of Joe, I got Chiefs gear. Let's go.
I think, too, that there was so much behind that Iron Curtain with the Patriots that leaves us with such intrigue, right?
Yeah.
As fans, we want to know everything about everybody in our favorite game. And we knew hardly nothing about the Patriots and all the scandals that they were involved in all those years and how they never really opened up from a media standpoint. We were never getting real answers from them. You're never really finding out, what they really thought. And that only makes human nature want to hear more about it. And I think that was a big part. But that was a great point. Like, how it ended certainly has a lot to do with it, and all the little stories that are coming out, now the book that's coming out. I think that's fascinating stuff. It's great drama, and you add the 24/7 news cycle and how popular the NFL is now. It's the most interesting debate, in my opinion, in the NFL. Not that it's going to change anybody's mind when you argue about it, but when does an argument ever change anybody's mind about anything?
Right. Not anymore. Everybody's mind's already made up, and now we're just going to debate one another without listening to what you're saying. You will listen to me. But
no, listen to me. I'm right.
But what I loved was, for a Week 4 non-conference NFL game, you could tell that game meant a lot to those two individuals.
Well, and the
on
players,
a deep level.
And on the two players on both teams. I mean, they played for those people. I mean, it had juice.
By the way, Richard Sherman, off the streets.
Wednesday.
He was everywhere.
He was everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. Joe, I want to ask you real quick, because I know you got to run. I want to ask you what you made of what John Harbaugh did in Baltimore yesterday as they were trying to extend their record of consecutive games with 100 yards rushing. They can take a kneel. They can end it for folks who didn't see it. They ran a quarterback sneak with Lamar. They picked up 4 yards to break the record or tie the record or whatever it was of most consecutive games with 100-yard rushing. Vic Fangio, the coach of the Broncos, not pleased. What do you make of it?
Harbaugh's responded, by the way, if you'd like me to throw that in there.
I'm sure. I bet I know what he said.
He said, I wasn't aware of a 16-point play, so what were they doing throwing the ball in the end zone at the end?
I knew he'd have an answer.
And he also said, I thought we were on good terms. Yeah, he said, I'm not going to think about it.
I love it. No, I'm sort of, I think it was Steve Spurrier that said it, right? Hey, you don't want me to score any more touchdowns? Then why don't you stop us? Like, there's no rules, especially in the NFL. This is not rec basketball. This is not like youth softball. This is the adult. This is professional here. Like, if you don't want me to run the football a certain amount, then stop it. Like, to me, there was nothing wrong with it, and I love it. And I thought that that's exactly what you should do. They deserve it. Like, they put themselves in position to break a record, and they should go out and do it because those players deserve it. And to not break their record just because you're winning in a blowout fashion, to me, that would be the shame of it, really, because you've beaten them so badly that conventional wisdom says if there wasn't a record on the line, you would just take a knee. But in this case, you've put yourself in position because you've exceeded expectations. So go ahead and get the record. That's exactly what they should have done.
Huff, great stuff as always, brother. It's always a pleasure. We get an hour with you on a Monday. Thanks for your time, pal.
Pure joy, guys. Thanks for having me on. Go Brownies.
All right, the great Joe Thomas on the Joe Thomas Hour of Cleveland Browns Daily. That's a great response out of Harbaugh. I knew he'd crush it, but I love that line about I'm not sure there was a 16-point play, and yet you're still slinging it, trying to score. It's not like you're taking a knee.
Right.
Why the heck do I have to? I love that. That's
I
a
thought
great
that was
line.
good. I liked it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm down
I like
with
how
that.
he also said, I thought we were on good terms.
Good. No, that's good. That's a good answer to that one. We've got a score for Monday for you, and they're going quite well. The scores are going quite well for another week, it appears. So we'll get you your Raiders and Chargers score. A little advanced scouting we can do tonight. We have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's presents the other rules of football. Rule 1, serving cooked-to-order chicken finger meals always earns you extra points. And Rule 2, there's no penalty for excessive cane sauce dipping. Raising Cane's is ready to tackle all your chicken finger game day needs. So when it comes to winning on game day, Cane's Rules, One Love, and a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks. Raiders. Chargers. Who you got?
Chargers, are you who we thought you are? By the way, go ahead and take down the Chiefs, take down the Raiders. Short week, here come the Browns. Oh, we've won 2 in the division. Let's go ahead. We're going to speak in existence. Chargers, 35, Vegas. I need a lot of field goals. 18.
Same. I look forward to seeing them play. Little
I do
advanced
too.
scouting, seeing what it's all about.
Should be a great uniform game.
You could argue it's as good as can be done.
Depending on what the Chargers
wear. It
That's
could
right.
be as good as could be done. We are back tomorrow for more.